Good morning, everyone. I kind of want to talk today about the importance of really thinking hard about what you need and what you want and what you would actually use, specifically in regards to equipment like cameras when it comes down to making YouTube videos. And the general thought process when buying a camera or when wanting to start a YouTube channel or when wanting to get something that you might want to use, maybe a computer, a phone, a bag, but as I said, more specifically in this case, a camera, it is usually something along the lines, okay, I want to get the best for the money that I have available. And more specifically, most of the time, people kind of overestimate what they actually have and how much they can actually spend. When it comes down to cameras again, it is most likely that if you want to start a channel, you probably think to yourself, okay, I need a big camera. Okay, what's my budget? All right, my budget is X, Y. And then you specifically look at the camera that you think is within your budget, but also very capable. And most of the time, probably much more capable than you are. And most of the time, you also, or most people also forget that, and that is the part of overestimating, they forget that they usually need more stuff in addition to the camera. For example, a microphone like this one, ND filters, filters in general, batteries, SD cards and stuff like that. And suddenly what they actually wanted to spend, for example, they have, I don't know, 1,000 euros, and they think to yourself, okay, I can get a full frame camera from Lumix, for example, the S9, that is 1,100. Okay, 100 more, it's not a big deal, let's buy that one. Oh no, I gotta buy a lens. Oh no, I gotta buy a mic. Filters. Oh no, the battery life isn't that great. So suddenly it becomes something close to 1,600, 1,700 or something like that. And obviously they overspend. And then they figure out, okay, that camera is much more difficult to utilize or much more capable than I am. And I don't even need most of the features. Next up, if you start out, you realize, ooh, I feel very self-conscious when I'm filming outside with this big camera. I have this huge camera, maybe a Gorilla Pod or a PGY Tech Mantis Pod on there, and that thing is like this big, everything all combined, right? And you stand there outside and people are walking and you feel so self-conscious, and suddenly you don't really want to film outside, and then you don't really utilize all of the capacities that the camera can give you or capabilities. Then you are at home and you realize, oh, at home I don't have that great light. Then you need to buy a light, and suddenly again you spend more. Or you go on vacation and you bought yourself a big full frame camera with a big lens, and you think to yourself, okay, I bring my camera. Oh no, it's so big and it's unwieldy and I want to enjoy my vacation, but I want to take some pictures, but this camera is too big, and suddenly it just stays at home. And here comes the thought process that I really want to encourage is, do you actually have the funds to buy the camera that you want? And most specifically, is that investment actually only the camera? And then, more importantly, do you need it? And that is the biggest question that you need to answer. Do you actually need it? Do you actually need, for example, when it comes to the camera, do you need full frame? Or would a crop sensor be good enough? Or even would be a micro four thirds sensor good enough? Or would be a phone good enough? So those are the questions first that you answer. And then if you still say something along the lines of, but I want the full frame capabilities because low light and I like the look and stuff like that. And you also can answer the question, okay, I have the budget, and I was very conservative about my budget, meaning you are actually not overestimating what you can spend. Again, I see it so many times. I have seen it so many times. People saying like, okay, I have 1,000 euros, let's buy a camera. And they spend everything on that camera and totally forgot that they need batteries. They forgot to buy a lens. They forgot to buy an SD card. And let's be very real. You need batteries, but more importantly, you need good SD cards. If you have a full frame camera with 4K capabilities, even 6K RAW, you need those expensive SD cards. And many people underestimate that it's really expensive. And so if you really have that budget and those questions, do you need it? Answer the next question is, will you use it? And that is the question that is the hardest and the difficult to really think about, and where you really need to be truthful and especially very critical about yourself. Because I made the mistake, for example, many years ago when I bought my DSLR, not a mirrorless, a DSLR. I'm that old. I had a DSLR with a 2.8 lens. It was huge. I never brought it. I thought I wanted it, I thought I needed it, and I will use it, but I did not, because I wasn't honest to myself in the way if I am actually not lazy. And I was lazy, and more importantly, I was also hesitant because that gear was so expensive. I was not willing to risk that gear, and I was not willing to lug around that huge lens with that DSLR camera with me all of the time, because it was heavy, it was expensive, and I did not want to carry it with me. It gathered dust. Eventually, many years later, I sold it on what we call here Kleinanzeigen, so basically the German version of Craigslist, for a fraction of what I've spent. So it is very important, especially when it comes to cameras, when it comes down to YouTube. If you want to vlog, if you want to do this like I do, maybe potentially even better, because I'm just sitting here in the car and I'm not editing this. But if you want to talk outside, be very prepared to answer the question, do I feel comfortable being outside around people, talking to a camera that looks expensive, that looks big, is very unwieldy to carry around? Am I comfortable to talk to a camera like that? And if the answer is no, maybe a DJI Pocket 3 like I'm using now is the better choice. Maybe an action camera with a mic is the better choice. Maybe your phone is the better choice. If you want to get into it, maybe start with that, get comfortable, then slowly progress, and don't buy the most expensive right away. And the same holds true with laptops. For example, right now the MacBook Neo is out. As far as I understand, this is basically a very low-spec consumer laptop. And I do see so many people saying, okay, I want to buy a new laptop, and what do I need? I want the best and whatever. And I'm saying that, okay, what exactly are you doing? Are you editing? Are you color grading? Are you doing photography and you need to manipulate those pictures with raw files and Photoshop? And most of the time people say, no, I do Word documents, I browse the web, I answer emails. And I would argue, if you don't need a MacBook and you don't need to be in the Apple system, I would argue maybe a Chromebook, especially for our parents and stuff like that. Maybe a Chromebook would be a better choice for you. It's much cheaper. You don't need a MacBook Pro. Because that's what people gravitate to, and I'm sitting there, why? You're just doing documents. Why do you need a MacBook Pro? Why don't you just get a smaller MacBook or even an iPad if you need to stay in the Apple system? And if you don't, why not just go with a Chromebook? There's nothing wrong with that. And again, it really comes down to, do you have the budget? Do you need it, or do you actually have something at home that already works? And then more importantly, will you use it? And that's the biggest question that many people don't really ask themselves is, will I actually use it? So yeah, before you buy something new, shiny, expensive, maybe ask yourself those 3 questions, especially when it comes down to YouTube, because just starting is winning half the battle actually. And most of the time you can use your phone to just start, because most of the time people do not feel comfortable talking in front of the camera, and a bigger camera won't make it easier. So starting with whatever you have available will make starting YouTube easier for you, and then you can gradually invest in something better. All right, that was my short little vlog about the investing in new gear. Let me know what are your thoughts about that, and maybe check out my video from yesterday where I talked about a new Harry Potter series where the trailer dropped. Watch it up here. YouTube thinks they like the video down here, and don't forget to subscribe by clicking the button up here. That way we see each other in the next video. Thank you very much.